according to our official club policy, here's what we have to say about the definition. It is the Prime Minister's responsibility to outline the motion at the beginning of their speech and then define the meaning of any terms in the motion that require interpretation. The definitions provided must have a clear and logical link to the motion, and the intention of this, to create the definition, is to clarify the resolution with increased specificity, so to get down into the details of the debate. Now, the government does not have to share this definition with the opposition before the debate. However, a good definition will be neither confusing nor surprising. Something that we do to make sure that it is neither confusing nor surprising is we ask the Prime Minister and the government side in general to hand their definition to the Speaker ahead of time. In fact, the earlier the better. So if you've signed up the week before, get your definition going and send it to whoever signed up to be Speaker. And then the Speaker's job is just to certify that as debatable. And all they have to do is take a look at 3 criteria, and those 3 criteria are squirreled, tautological, or special knowledge. And I'll explain each of them in turn. Squirreled means that a motion has an obvious meaning, and the wording is twisted to represent something unexpected. So, for example, in the resolution, there are no bad dogs, only bad dog owners. A squirreled resolution would be dogs would be defined as hot dogs. That's squirreled.
Never happened. Never happened.
Power to the people.
It doesn't matter.
No, don't.
Anarchist.
Watch for that. The second type, tautological. The government is trying to have it both ways by forcing the resolution into a form such that the truth is logically guaranteed. So, for example, bad dogs in the same resolution would be defined as dogs with bad owners and excludes dogs bred to be violent, etc. So that's not allowed. That's tautological. Thirdly, special knowledge. The government calls on an expert knowledge not widely available or understood to the common layperson. So, for example, bad dog owners could be defined as people having a statistically prevalent genetic marker that predisposes them to not properly care for dogs. So that goes far too far into the special knowledge area. So something that the Speaker should do to make sure that the resolution is debatable, because we want to see a good show at the debate, we want to make sure that there's good arguments for either side, is what the Speaker should do is write out the definition in the negative, so rephrase the resolution with the defined terms in the negative, and see if the Speaker can quickly off the top of his head come up with 2 or 3 arguments that support the opposition's antithesis. And if they can do that, then it's most likely that the definition is fine. So this is just a check to see if the definition is going to be a good debate. And so that's all that they have to do. The Speaker tells the government, great, go with it, and that's it. The next thing that we ask them to do is, before the debate, so this would be the evening of, like tonight, is about 10 minutes before the debate, just to have the definition written down on a printout or on a little sheet of paper, just to hand it to the opposition. This will give the opposition those 10 minutes, not only making sure that they don't have to scribble down the definition in the middle of the first person's speech, but just to make sure there's no missed words, and in those 10 minutes, the opposition can take their general broad research and make it specific so that it clashes against the government's case. And that's just one extra little thing that we find will really help. Now, the third thing that they have to do is that the opposition must accept this definition. So we've had the check, the Speaker says it's okay, it looks like everyone has seen it to make sure it's okay. There are cases where the the government might innocently create a definition that has squirreled the debate and they don't know it, they can't quite tell, it gets by the Speaker anyway, they kind of get stuck. But the opposition, we'd like to say that you're stuck with it. That's the definition and that's what you should go with. And we're asking the adjudicators to actually say if there are arguments against the definition, arguments that go into pure semantics, then that's actually going to be arguments that don't really go into the debate and they kind of are just loose around the edges, and the adjudicator won't give very many points for arguments about that. So the definition must stand. And the reason for this is that because we want to see a great debate, we want to see both sides going against the black and white of the issue and staying away from the mushy middle, the opposition, even if they're stuck in a position that is difficult or perhaps even impossible to defend, the opposition should come out swinging anyway. Attack the government's case as it's defined and sell the negative side, no matter what type of position you think has been put in. And to kind of put a little anecdote on that, there was a debate that wasn't here that I was judging at a high school competition, and what lost the team the championship debate was because it was transparent. They did not like that the resolution seemed to be skewed against them. And because everyone could tell that they just didn't like their side, they lost the debate. So we would see the same thing here if the opposition is complaining about the definition, the wording. That's not what we want to see. So to give an example for this, if there was a motion, it is better to spend than save. What we want to see is we want to see a government making a case for spending and an opposition making the case for saving. Let's say the government has defined spending, or pardon me, the government has defined better as having a balance. So the government is trying to have it both ways. Again, they're trying to argue for balance, which then means that the opposition has to argue against having a balance. So again, we've got a government that is defending kind of a middle zone and an opposition that's kind of trying to attack both sides of the debate at the same time. So really, speaker checking to make sure that it's black and white and it's not squirreled, tautological, or special knowledge, and it's quite debatable. And then opposition, go with it. You'll be handed the definition 10 minutes before, just to make sure that there's no really glaring problems and just to reorient your arguments. Are there any questions about the definition process? Yes, David.
If the government comes up with an undebatable resolution and the speaker, for whatever reason, falls down on the job and approves it, and the opposition is simply left twisting in the wind with no appeal, no redress of grievance, nothing. Is that correct?
That is correct. The popular vote and the adjudicator will then determine how they thought the debate went. This is new. We are going to see how this works, and if there are serious problems with it, we can definitely readdress it. The issue is, we think this is going to address a problem that we have now, which is sometimes the debates get into semantics as opposed to the core issues. So what we're doing now is to tell all you potential speakers to be on the lookout for undebatable resolutions and to take a look at the arguments from both sides. And there is no appeal. However, in those 10 minutes, if something is completely off the wall, I actually can't even think of an example. If something is just completely so ridiculous, at least there's 10 minutes to take a look at that. We can have an executive come into it in that kind of thing. So I would hope that was an extreme example, and you are correct that we don't have a function to deal with that extreme example yet. Jerry, question?
I really like your idea of the speaker looking at both sides of it and making sure that you can come up with 3 or 4 arguments from both sides. If every speaker does that, I don't see how we can run into that problem.
That's a good idea.
Thanks, Jerry. Any other questions? Michael, yes.
I was just wondering, I've been here for 10 or 11 years, and I've heard the word tautology defined about 100 times. I still haven't got a clue what the word means.
How do you spell it?
I was wondering if there's another word in the English language that would get the message across to our members without the intimidating aspect of a word that nobody, I don't think, has ever heard in their life.
Circular.
Will never use in their polite conversation, and that I think would intimidate some people. That might, what is it, tautology? And I still don't know what it is. I listen. It doesn't get through. I realize that's probably my problem. But
Tautology means childlike, doesn't it?
well, then I should know that.
That's definition 101 then. So the question is there a better word we can say instead of tautological?
Not better.
Well,
This is obviously a very good word.
Oh.
People think it's a terrific word. A word that generally would convey the message without the requirement for it to be defined every time.
in that case, what I would basically boil it down to saying is that the logic of the wording is being manipulated to guarantee truth when the government defines it. So we say, aha, look, we've got a perfect case. We don't even need to make any arguments, because if you read the definition, it is true and you cannot debate that.
I just
Therefore
thought-
making it undebatable.
If
The
we
irony
gave
of having
a logical fallacy, it would probably be begging the question. But begging the question is narrower than saying tautological. But it's that reflexive. It's true because it's true.
It's circular logic.
Of course, the nice safety is if the speaker
Yeah.
checks 3 arguments for either side, it won't be possible if the definition is made such that it's logically impossible to be arguing for the opposition.
I just thought the irony of having a talk about requiring a definition, the use of which is using a word that also requires a definition, like the
The irony is not lost on us, I'm sure. Jerry?
One way of thinking of it is a circular sort of situation, or a catch-22.
Yep.
Basically what it is. If that answers
To me,
anything.
I know what that means.
Okay, thank you, Michael and Jerry and Margie. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for attending this education. Thank you.